happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Dig.
Yo.
Yeah.
Man, well, I guess the good news, it's beautiful here in Austin. It's like 63 degrees and not a cloud in the sky and no wind. It's perfect and gorgeous.
Nice.
But all I can fixate on is of those two rock speakers I installed, one just suddenly is real quiet and like I spent an hour and change setting it up yesterday, and then and it
Yeah.
seemed to work great for
So let's
one day.
let's set up that you spent a lot of time setting it up, because I think that was a private conversation we had.
Yeah,
about you
well,
setting
I
up
did.
The rock
I did. I
speakers.
set up. It
Yeah.
took me a long time to set up the rock speakers, and then, and then to figure out if they're positioned right and if the volumes are right and all that stuff. I'm like, yeah. And so I go to show it off to Bonnie today, and then like one of them is just barely making a squeak, and so then, I spent like 90 minutes like farting around teching with it, and then I'm like, I don't know. And so maybe not 45 minutes probably, but man, it's so funny how today's one of those days where it's like I don't know, I got stuff in my craw. I'm not happy about, everybody's still mad about politics, and I was throwing up last night, and I slept all day, and my damn rock speaker doesn't work, although my dog did get her shot, so we're able to take her on a leash and have her visit people. So that's a good thing.
Holy shit, we are getting nothing but the news, folks. If you were not ready for Brian Brushwood headline news, like, you were getting all the news that's fit to print in the top 5 minutes of happy hour.
I mean, unfortunately, that's all I've got. That was me shooting my wad right up front. So unless we want to deconstruct that for the next 55 minutes.
Normally you could stop at one of the 5 topics and we could spend some time on it. But if you want to blast through everything, then I guess we can go back.
This is like you go to PF Chang's and then they hand you a menu. They're like, by the way, only chumps order from the menu. If you're a real cool crowd, you'll do the family style where we just bring everything out. So that's what I'm doing, is I'm bringing you out like that. That's all I got. What about you? Like, I think I'm starting to feel.
Hold on. Do we just let's start with your health, because obviously I think people are concerned about you and your health because of everything that you went through with the COVID stuff before.
Yeah, sure.
And like you were puking yesterday and left early from
before
the show.
and after the show.
Give everybody an update on that.
Yeah, no, I'm super embarrassed that I'm rapidly becoming the guy who gets sick on the show. And it was embarrassing to throw up before the show. It was more embarrassing to keep throwing up after the show. Then it was embarrassing to go home and not even be able to fall asleep. And then today I'm just super fatigued and probably should be in bed, but then that would only have me leaning more into the embarrassing position of being the guy who's always sick. So I don't know. Everyone wants to armchair diagnose. Here are your vectors. Feeling pretty much fine, except for, my belly says I have to throw up, and throwing up twice before the show. Doing the show, feeling fine. Afterwards, saying, I think my belly says I have to throw up. Throwing up again, then going home, and then the following day, just massive fatigue. Just waking up for, 2 or 3 hours and then saying, what would be great is going back to bed. And then I went back to bed at like 11:30, and then suddenly it was 1:30 in the afternoon, and Bonnie was calling me saying, you realize you have to get up at some point. And I'm like, yeah. And then I showed up here and my rock speaker didn't work. And then despite everything about the weather, the day, like there's no real pressing shit happening. Like everything's great. But I got a cross sticker of a day. And that's just.
Let's just so number one, and I understand that there's no logicking inside, your own internal clock when it comes to health and stuff like that. Like that was the biggest thing that, like, the back shit fucking made me understand. It made me understand a lot about disability, to be honest with you, because when something is taken away from you and it's all you can think about, it's all that, like, there is a hole in your life for which there was a functioning thing there, and you realize how much your work ethic, your attitude, your perspective was tied to your personality, tied to your self-worth, tied to everything, that it's like, I can tell you, no, Brian, you are not the guy who gets sick. You are the fucking consummate pro who battled through a show after, bookending it with being sick. Like, and that's not gonna matter, right? Like, cause you like it'll be nice to hear, but like you will still feel whatever you're going to feel about all that. But know that that is how I feel in terms of your performance yesterday was. I mean, especially considering hearing where you're at today is nothing short of fucking awe-inspiring. Like that is what true professionals fucking do.
There was one really nice moment where Kuhan in the chat has he's heard all the stories and has been following us since the days where before you were touring and while I was still touring, and he did a comment of you like, yeah, Brian's doing that thing where he brings out the performance mode, and I was like, oh shit, yeah, I am, and that felt kind of good because there's definitely been, we've talked about this where I did good on my stage show and made it 2/3 of the way through the lecture after the stage show for like a 3-hour rock block, and then said, oh, excuse me, I'm gonna go throw up now. And then Nick Wells had to go on stage. It was just like, oh yeah, apparently that's not a joke. I can see him right now off stage. Who wants to do Q&A with the intern?
Yeah.
and then like 2 minutes later, I walked back on stage with a little more pep into my step to finish the lecture on
no, you're a
double
fucking
blind
gamer,
testing.
dude. And I mean that in the way that we said it when you say it in touring, and not in like having a fancy chair and playing Among Us. Like you are somebody that comes to play and battled through. And I know everybody's that episode was really, really funny last night, and it was good to meet hopefully a new friend of the show, and Christopher Titus, and the fact that you gutted that shit out, amongst feeling like a pile of shit, like that's fucking great.
Well, I'm glad to hear that, because it's always, how it is, where it's just like you're just so dialed in on your own personal battle that you only casually notice, like, I don't know that I've gotten many laughs, and it's like and it was like, well, I'm here, and you're just thinking about like, we're making better, whatever. But I'm glad to hear that it was a good one.
Dude, yeah, you were great, and I think the show was awesome. But you definitely don't need to. You definitely don't need to feel, at least in my, or I think anybody else's eyes, your status diminishing if you even if you did take today off or whatever. Like that's not an issue. But it does suck, man. I mean, I can only imagine. That whole fucking psychodrama.
And it's funny too, because it's like, I don't know. It's sort of like, I don't know, that line from Fight Club. It's like that annoying little flap of skin on the roof of your mouth that would be fine if you would just stop tonguing it. And like, that's where I'm at on the sort of grousing that I'm not feeling 100%, or that my day's not 100%. Like fucking, it was the set of Rock speakers was $68, and I'm sure I'll figure out how to fix it, but it's like, for some reason, I'm fixated on the dumbest shit, and that doesn't make it any better.
Well, I would say, I mean, look, the Rock speakers, to play armchair psychologist, the Rock speakers might as well be called a metaphor for your body.
Yes.
Like,
you're like, what the fuck? I just fixed all this. What's going on? Yeah.
It's like, why are you fixating on the $68 Rock speakers? Because fixating on your body, is fruitless, because it is an organism for which heals itself with enough time and care, and you will give it that.
And that's the other thing, is like, if I was somebody who was not me, I'd want very much to know, hey, what do we think it is? Is everything okay or whatever? But I'm so embarrassed because there's just not enough data to go on that anyway.
I just think, look, you're gonna know what this shit is by the end of today, probably, because if you're fucking hydrating and you feel great tomorrow morning, then Like,
Then who
whether or
cares
not
what it
it's-
was? Yeah.
Yeah, whether or not it's food poisoning, it's probably, I would guess it's related on some level to the fucking food, and that'll be that, right? Like it'll be either like just your body was like, grease, fucking gross. No, get out. Like, and that's not food poisoning, but that is a reaction to food.
Yeah.
Or it'll be a 24-hour bug, or it'll be fucking whatever, but it'll probably be done tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's where I'm at as well. What was I gonna? I also have, I've also, along with this, because I've been sleeping all day, I now have an entire day's worth of emails and stuff to do in the next
Yeah.
couple hours. But one of them is my Hollywood agent, and I know he just sends me like there's a thing that is on our plate that I sent over to him. Then I'm like, hey, what do you think? Let's can we move forward on this? And what is it a good idea or whatever? He's like, oh, let me do my due diligence on this entity and this property and so on. And then he comes back with a one-liner like this is 30 minutes ago, so I have to respond to it. But he's
Yeah.
like, hey, man, you got a lot of stuff online. Do you have just the short? What do I hand a producer? And then already I'm thinking of well, here's 5 different sizzle reels for 5 different siloed versions of everything. And I'm just like, okay, so I gotta figure out what is the shortest version of the story that will cause somebody to get it. And so I gotta figure out what that looks like.
I mean, well, that's something to focus on, right? You know,
Yeah.
like figuring out exactly what that project's supposed to be and what parts of you are best there for. I mean, look, the good part about having a career as multifaceted as yours is that you have no shortage of finding exactly what meal you are putting together for, or at least the pitch for a meal that they'd be very interested in buying.
Yeah, I wonder if I think this is one of the things, and you and I have talked about it, where it's like there's part of me that will always miss the simplicity of my job description in 2008. I am a touring live magician who occasionally dabbles on the internet. And that's now it's just harder and harder to know what to say. And I guess, a number of other people have gotten through it. You would never hear Johnny Carson going around saying and also I do magic and also. He's like, no, I fucking do the Tonight Show. Or Steve Martin, and also I do magic and I play the banjo, although he does that.
He
more
would
than that.
he would actually he would be like, I'm a banjo player who also dabbles in comedy.
Yeah. Actually, maybe that's where I need to be. But it is. But how do you introduce yourself now? Because I know that you would do on your Twitter bio. Used to, I don't know if it still does, but it self-deprecatingly just said Yeller. Or something like that.
Writer Yeller. Yeah. I think I've done more to I've done more to kind of put that in I do the Night Attack show and I do politics. But now if I'm just introducing myself to somebody, it's usually politics podcast guy. Mostly because that's the easiest thing that people know. People understand that there's a career in political media,
right?
And podcasting, despite being among the lowest rungs of media, is still a rung now that is recognized. Enough people listen to podcasts,
well,
right?
And especially in the realm of politics, that would be after stories of people murdering each other, it would be politics or news or whatever. And
so that's pretty much the first thing. For a while, I just said writer. Like if I'm at the dentist and they're asking me my profession, it's writer. But now, the politics things is probably the easiest because it's also the thing that I can most easily have a conversation. Like if you're going to presume that at a cocktail party back when those things existed, that you would be saying your profession with the idea being that there's always going to be one follow-up question and you would probably like it to be as painless as possible. then announcing yourself as a political podcast person is way easier than a comedy podcast person, because like a political podcast person, they're immediately just going to talk about politics. And it's like, oh, I don't know. Who do you think is going to win the election? Can you believe this political story I literally just heard of 5 seconds ago? And then it's like, yeah, it actually happened 2 months ago. And here's what I can tell you about it, right? Because I'm already read up on it. If it's comedy podcasting, then it's like, oh,
Tell me a joke.
so it's like, are you like a stand-up, or like do you do like sketches, or you want to? I think is funny. Benny Hill. I don't know where this person exists, but I'm very fucking annoying, and I'm at a cocktail party. I love it when he chases the ladies.
Yeah, I lately I've gravitated towards just being very, very general and just saying I work in entertainment or the entertainment biz. Used to be more on stage, now I'm more in front of the camera, and then that's about like that. That's a Rorschach test onto which people can project. Like if they're genuinely interested, then they'll ask about like on stage, were you a musician? In which case it's like, oh, we're doing that. Choose your own adventure. Actually a magician. You're like, oh, I love magic. And then you have that conversation.
Yeah.
Or it's like on camera. What do you mean? And I'm like, oh, do some TV, do some YouTube channels. And then, so that's sort of like another gate where it's like TV. I love the TV, or, YouTube. My nephew loves YouTube. And then there's a discussion to be had. I did have a weird, this is, God damn it. I don't know what it is about talking to you, Justin, that just causes me to lay myself bare in the most nakedly honest and unflattering ways. But,
Yes. I'll paint you like my French girls.
I don't, when I had my run to Legend,
Yeah.
for the first time ever, I played a game against someone and got a friend request from them immediately afterwards. Have you had that happen to you?
Sparingly, but I'm aware of the concept. Yeah.
And well, the way I've mostly heard about it is that people will do that just so they
Just to
could turn
curse you.
around
Yeah.
and then chew you out. But I thought maybe he had a question about this deck or whatever, but I was just like, yeah, sure, why not? I'll be your friend. And I'm like, I'm curious what he has to say. And about an hour later, I had crossed over to Legend, and then I was playing later in the day, like 4 hours later, and then dude just first message to me was, finally! And then like in all caps, and I realized, I looked, and he had crossed over to Legend, because we were both at that rank 1, rank 2, very close. And so like I respond, as if we'd known each other forever, like, congrats, what kind of deck was it? We're like, I play this, I do that, or whatever. And I felt this weird moment of like, this guy seems like very friendly and cool, and it was his first time to hit Legend in the North American servers or whatever.
Yep.
And I wanted to give him a gift, but I didn't. So all I said was nice things to him. But part of me wondered where like, should I blow his mind by letting him know who I am? Because as far as he knows, I'm just another fellow traveler.
You're gonna like send him your LinkedIn, or like
or just send him
hey,
like
Google
hey,
Schwood.
Yeah. Like, hey, if it matters, this is me. Like, I don't even know where to go with that. But it's like, it's the anti, do you know who I am intimidation is just like, hey man, I'm glad we found each other and our friends. If it matters to you,
you want to know what
cool.
the move would be?
Huh.
The move would be, hey, are you on Twitter? Like, and then have him be like, yes or no, probably yes or whatever. And then if he's like, oh, I just congratulated you on making Legend. And then you actually just tweet, hey, congratulations to blank person for being my Legend buddy. Like, that's a double humble brag. Because number one,
that I'm
also
bragging that I
say,
just hit Ledge again.
I just hit Legend.
Yeah.
But you're not saying it. And then you're humble bragging to him that like, oh, sorry, by the way, I'm a fucking gigantic deal, and I'm fucking playing Hearthstone on Kim Kardashian's private island now because I'm very famous.
Yeah, explain to me. She what, presented as though she was having a humble get together for her 40th, and then meanwhile it was...
I don't think that I don't think that there was a false thing,
Well,
right?
but there's some amount of it that there had to be some kind of dissonance between what she was saying and what she was presenting, because I don't understand why anyone's mad.
Who's mad, man?
First
first rule of the internet. A hoe mad in motion stays in hoe maddening motion. Like, people are just, I don't know. She's fucking Kim Kardashian and she's rich, and so like people are just super pissed off about it because she's rich and she's Kim Kardashian. That's just like what happens. But no, so she was like I thought her tweet was kind of trying to steer into this skid of like, all right, we're rich as hell and we're gonna do rich as hell people things. And so,
which, by the way, I thought has been her brand since day one.
I mean, she got richer being rich. Like the exaltation of wealth and packaging and distributing of such is literally what her brand is. So, but yeah, all I saw was the tweet, so I haven't gone super deep diving into this.
That's funny because I've not even seen the tweet. I've only seen the headlines, like Colin Hanks, the latest celebrity to start also, joining the angry mob against Kim Kardashian. They're like, okay.
So yeah, it was one of those Twitter like memes where you just like copy the text of it and then replace the photo.
Mm-hmm.
So there was like a tweet by a Republican Congressman, Matt Gaetz, a while ago saying like, oh, a lot of you might not know, but here's my Cuban son, Nestor. And I don't remember if that was the exact case, but in the original tweet, it was like him and I guess his adopted son, who is Cuban or whatever. And so like people read that as, because Matt Gaetz is white, as like, oh, you're like racially pandering and you don't really have a Cuban son. And because Gaetz is also kind of like a shit stirrer. So like it would not have been crazy if he was like playing some crazy game on the internet. Anyway, so then it became a thing where it's like, this is me and my son Nestor. And it's people with their like dogs or with a can of Goya beans or whatever, like, just random stuff. And so that's the kind of meme that happened with this Kim Kardashian thing, where the text, as I can remember off the top of my head, is after multiple health checks and having everybody quarantined for 2 weeks, I surprised my inner circle by taking them all to a private island where we could all act normal for the first time in forever.
Normal, of course, being rich as fuck and living the life.
Exactly. But I would assume it's, much in the same way that like a family out in the country would be like, oh shit, like we ain't seen nobody for a while, so we're gonna get everybody together and it's gonna kind of be like old times. And so that, with a bunch of pictures of all of them looking gorgeous and in full makeup and resplendent dresses and suits and everything. But yeah, so then that was just what it was, and people just, hoes mad, man. Hoes stay mad.
So, man, I know
there was you in the background getting to Legend in Hearthstone, and
yes,
then humble bragging to your random new friend.
Yes, I didn't. In fact, I did the classier thing of just cheering for him person to person.
You just said, like, well, I'm gonna do the classy thing and serve you tea. How do you take it, sir? And then you had a fake tea party through battle chat.
It sounds pretty dope, actually.
2 sugar cubes or 1? Ding.
That's the other thing.
Dungeons and Dragons, like a direction. Like I walk to your side of the tea party table, right, and doff my cap in reverence.
And then I'm constantly afraid is like, I reveal to you that I am 12. And it's like, I back away confused as to, cursing the internet for anonymity.
I begin knocking over bookshelves to see if there are cameras.
I shout, Chris Hansen, fuck you!
Yeah. I scream, I've done nothing wrong, as I ninja roll out of an open window.
Yeah. So I had a tickle of being just done with, like, for some reason being less than a week away from, that glorious moment that we're all done being upset with politics. is so close now that I'm done. I'm done with the wait. And it's like, let's hurry up and get to the part where we find out we have politeness cancer, or let's skip to the really bad part, which is after we find out who quote unquote won.
Yeah.
By the way, people in the chat are like, it's never gonna end, Brian. Like, that's my joke. That's
Yeah. No, I mean, the one thing that will change is that, again, we're going to go from an analysis story to a news story. Like, even if it's a controversial news story, it will be a news story, and not like right now we're at a point where literally like everybody's picking and choosing their own facts of like, oh, look at this poll versus this poll versus this scandal versus this scandal, and everybody's throwing shit at the wall. Whereas, like, even now, there's early voting that's in fact, Texas probably over the next 72 hours will, in early voting, pass 100% of what the vote was in 2016.
yeah.
And
what's funny is being Texas,
it's a
I have
lot.
no read on whether that's more likely to be a dumb team or the other dumb team.
Nobody knows. And we'll find out soon enough. I mean, it's I wonder if there will be any kind of culture change. Mostly because people seem to be talking about it a lot. People seem to like that is its own social coup, that people want there to be a moment where we're not as mad.
So,
And now, like, I think some people are like on the Democratic side are like, oh, well, what will make me happy is this person that made me mad being gone. And maybe that'll be the case. Or maybe it'll be the case where there's another gigantic Lucy pulling the football away
Surprise,
from
yeah.
Charlie Brown's foot surprise. And they'll just be like, well, fuck, everything I fucking believed in is a lie. And there'll be some kind of reordering then. But who knows?
So this is my question, and this is all speculative. And as everybody hopefully who's listening knows, I ain't got no dog in this fight. I think it's all corrupt. But if, let's say, Trump surprises and wins again, do we see I just spent 5 years of raging, I got no more rage left in me, let's just ride out the rest of this stupid term? Or do we see like a next level, okay, now I sincerely suspect everything of being a fraud, and this is some kind of hilarious Truman Show Matrix deal. I'm going to go fly off the handle, and it turns out I have a deeper well of rage than I ever expected from Team Blue.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't. I don't think that inside of politics it will get less loud. I think the big question is, does this hurt politics as popular entertainment? Because to me, that's where the suffocating element of it comes in. Are people that aren't normally politically tuned in, that are now very activated because they are like, elements of political speech have broken out more than I've ever seen in my lifetime into like mainstream culture. Like, these are like the number one things we're talking about, not movies, not sports, not anything that we normally can kind of satiate ourselves with. It is partisan politics that is there. And that affects media, that affects discourse, that affects friendships, relationships, everything. I don't know if a win or a loss hurts or helps. Like, maybe, because there's also an element of progressives that are inside the left that are like, no, like, if Biden wins, now's the time we're fighting. Like,
Right.
Now's like our clock. We were off the clock during Bernie, and maybe we came out and voted for Biden, and maybe we didn't. But like, now's when they're gonna start ripping shit up, and now's when they're gonna start screaming and yelling because they believe that this is their time to strike. And that would be almost more like a Tea Party thing. you know, where now there is an insurgent part of a party that is in power. But who knows? I mean, I don't. Again, for people that have been here, like people that have been coming to this bar for a while, like there's still going to be a rowdy ass crowd. But I don't know whether the tourists are gonna leave.
That's a pretty good way to put it. Yeah, man, it's wild. It's wild. Just as we get closer and closer, it's like I'm now seeing a point where my parents don't want to talk about politics, which is
Wow.
like that's how
That's how
uh,
done they are.
yeah.
Because they've been itching for a reason to bring up politics for what, 4 years now, right? Maybe longer than that.
I mean, my whole since I was old enough to understand and comprehend
Oh
politics,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
they,
I mean, yeah. I mean, in this, yeah, sure, absolutely, yeah, totally.
but now it's just like don't even want to. They don't even like even they recognize how just radioactive everything is.
It's crazy. It is, and I don't know. You know, I feel like I've almost talked enough about my perspective on it that I feel like people don't want to. People don't. I've kind of run out of coupons on being the like, man, is it crazy for my perspective, guys? Like, as I'm sitting here watching everything, not only outside of my own bubble, but also in my own bubble, like it's nuts. Like nobody gives a fuck. Like
Yeah.
nobody
Well,
really.
and
Like,
I feel the same thing with my third party anti duopoly or whatever. It's like no, I'm just everyone say it. This year is different. I hear you. Every year, it's always this year is different. That's fine. And the closer it
do
is to
feel
the
like
actual decision day, the more seriously, bro. This year it's different. You can't afford to play with this.
well, let me ask you this because you are somebody who has these conversations more directly, but indirectly, what I have seen is that there's less of what normally happens around third parties where there's like a lot of proselytizing. There's a lot of like, hey man, you got to do it. You got to like now's the time to do it. And now it's like, oh, I'm thinking about voting third party. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. No, it's
Fuck
definitely.
you. You're an irredeemable piece of shit. If you want to know what? Your fucking vote is so tainted. If you wanted to vote now, I would throw it out. I'd eat your vote. I would shit your vote out and I'd hand it back to you. And that's like that's the level that even the third party stuff. Because normally, what I normally do, I'll have like 2 or 3 times and I'll tweet it out. I'll do my little like, hey guys, don't vote. Justin Robert Young here for not voting. It's super cool to not vote. And there's not even really that discourse anymore. That like normally it's fun that I can say that and people will get mad. Now it's just like, fuck you. And they
Yeah.
move on.
Well,
It's
and,
like,
and
oh, well, if people aren't even going to react, then I won't even do it.
over the last couple of election cycles, there's spoiler alert, it's the Libertarian Party that I vote for as my third party, but I'm just in favor of third party voting, full stop, even write-in voting, make America motherly again.
Yes.
The
By the way, Andrew Heaton, our friend, all of his shows this week are interviewing third party candidates, and I think he had a great framing for it of like, hey, you're probably listening to this show because you are not on one of the two teams, or if you're on one of the two teams, you're interested and excited about new ideas. Guess where new ideas never come from? Inside the big two teams. Guess where they all always come from? The third parties. So you may not want to vote for these people. You may not like them, but here are the ideas that are bubbling up on the fringes that will probably have more standing going forward. And he's done fucking great interviews so far.
man, I got to get caught up on that because I'm caught. Do you go through that thing where it's like you tend to live in audiobook land for a while and then you're done and then you just want to eat all the candy of podcasts and then you get full of candy. You're like, oh, I need a big meaty meal again.
Yeah. No, I dropped off audiobooks for like a while.
Yeah.
As soon as I started doing Raise the Dead, and I was like, all right, the only audiobooks I listen to are 60s audiobooks. And other than that, it's like I can't listen to fun audiobooks that I like. In fact, the only other audiobook that I listened to was the one for an audio project that I'm working on. And then I listened to the Big Picture. But that Big Picture audiobook was the first one that I had actually like burnt through in
And
in a
it's
really
practically
long time.
a podcast. It's practically chapter by chapter.
Amy Pascal, who's the head of pictures
like
at Sony,
and who
really
loves
movies.
mid-budget
Oh
adult
my God.
dramas.
An hour later, Amy Pascal, the head of Sony Pictures, who loves movies so much and loves the mid-budget, star-driven picture.
Well, back to your original question. In previous cycles, the Libertarian candidates have kind of gone through a phase of where they're sort of allowing relegated teams to come down from the majors into the Libertarian Party.
This is the Libertarian. The Libertarian two-step is always Republican that you heard about a while ago that now is in the Libertarian Party, and then that goes horribly, and then they're like, ideologue you've never heard of. And they're like, well, who would vote for the ideologue you never heard of? Retread Republican. Who cares about this person? Ideologue you've never heard of. And that has been the Libertarian Party two-step.
And as a matter of fact,
election.
there's a really good Soho Forum debate where they do a Oxford style debate where everybody votes on what their opinion is going into it. They listen to the debate and then they vote their opinion afterward, and a winner is declared. And it was exactly that argument. One is just like, no, we believe this craziest stuff. We should run the honest candidate. And then the other side is like, look at the numbers. 10 times as many people voted when we got somebody civilized who understands the party. And they're all like, fuck the party. And, But
I'll tell you what, I was looking back. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I was looking back at 2016 results for today's politics. I tell you what, man, if Gary Johnson wasn't such a weed smoking swinger,
if they had flipped that fucking party ticket, Bill Weld crushed it in every interview that I saw.
I mean, also, if they had flipped the party ticket, then Bill Weld would have quit running for president 2 weeks before the end of the election, like he did when he was running for vice president.
That's a legit point.
So, at least Gary Johnson was too high to quit at the 11th hour, unlike Bill Weld.
But the thing was, at that point, no.
My point was Gary Johnson. He did well. Gary Johnson was somebody that the name recognition was there. The former governorship mattered. And it was just, he fucking was too out of it on that, MSNBC thing. And he got clowned. And they never really had an answer for, yes, this year, yes, every year, vote us no matter what. I don't care what war is happening between the Montagues and the Capulets.
Right.
If you believe in us, you need to vote for us. And as was seen when their vice president was like, don't vote for us, vote for somebody else.
Yeah,
And
right.
it's like, all right, well, then you really didn't have a cohesive message there.
In previous years, saying voting third party would at least lead to a conversation with most people was like, what is it that makes you appeal to the third party? And then we could eventually get to the fact, to be honest, I don't care what. All I know is that the corrupt two-party first past post system is inherently, all the incentives are aligned for a disaster that leads to eventually a dictatorship, and it's awful by all measures, and we need to fight it. Let's talk about ranked choice voting and all those things. Those are all the conversations I really want to have. The excuse is just give me a respectable enough candidate that nobody immediately either laughs at me, although laughing at me is fine, or threatens my physical person. And this year, it's just nobody's having it. They don't want to hear word one about the qualifications of Jo Jorgensen. They don't want to hear word one about the platform of anti-war, lower taxes, higher personal responsibility, more freedom, a fiscal budget that makes sense. Nobody wants to hear that. All they hear is, yeah, but this, I've never in my life experienced, in 20 years of voting third party, this time it's different, shut up, you even talking about this is dangerous, is at an all-time high. And it's really unpleasant. I don't think it's good for the country. I don't think it's good for democracy.
And that's the question. The question is, are we redlining, and what is the outgas? Or is it an explosion? And what does the explosion look like? Is it just a meltdown? Is it does it take elements of our media along with it? Because I do say this: if Trump wins, there's going to be a media reckoning, the likes of which I don't know if we've ever seen.
Now,
in
when
political
you say
media.
the reckoning, what does that look like? It like from within the media or against the media or
oh no, specifically with polling.
Oh, got it.
Because we saw a lot of, there's a lot less. Let me rewind. 2012. Obama, Romney, Nate Silver is running a 538 at the New York Times.
That was his breakout year because he called so many of those races.
All 50. Is Nate Silver a witch?
Yeah.
That was the thing. And it's like, oh my God, look. And it was just perfect for that Obama age. Numbers will show us the truth. Look, we have a numbers man. Numbers man knows everything. Well, it's so simple. None of this learn with your gut bullshit. Ha ha, we can say bullshit now. It's 2012. And then 2016 happens, and everybody now has a Nate Silver. Every website has, and they've simplified it. It's now a lot of numbers that get simplified into one number where it's like, oh, there's an 80% chance for Hillary Clinton to win, a 90% chance for Hillary Clinton to win, a 99% chance for Hillary Clinton to win. And then they're all wrong. Some are more wrong than others, but all of them are wrong. And now you're left with a bunch of people who are like, well, statistically, a 20% chance to win is a really high percent chance to win.
I mean, have you ever had a picnic on a 20% chance of rain day? Hope you like soggy sandwiches. That's my nickname for Donald Trump. Look at that face.
Exactly. And so now you have even more aggressive polling that shows that this is going to be not just a win, but a blowout for Joe Biden. And if that does not come to pass, I think there is now compared to 2016 and now, not a lot of people have those aggregate sites. 538 has it, and even the Upshot, which was Nate Silver's replacement at the New York Times, have been way more on focusing on them doing their own polls. They're not driving into the poll aggregate space as much. So they're like, hey, look, we'll stand by our own methodology. We'll stand by our own research, but we're not going to do the let's collect everybody's numbers and run with them. So I don't know.
We're not going to Rotten Tomatoes this. We're not going to take all of the bad pollster predictions and average them together as if that will create a mecca.
Better truth.
Yeah, exactly.
Super
right?
truth, right? But yeah, I think that's there will be a reckoning for that. And if it is a Biden blowout, then it'll be wow, the reclamation polls are back, baby.
What do you think? God, I just hate that I have to, every single time I ask a question like this, I have to say, and reminder, neither of us have a dog in the fight. We're not rooting for anything. How do you think Trump spins it if it's a blowout?
You're the one who's voting for a party like a fucking sellout.
That's how you know that we're actually seeing success for our anti-duopoly moment is when you and I start fighting against each other over which is the one true alternative.
I'm Brian Brushwood. I'm voting for a party, hiding behind mama's skirt of Joe Jorgensen. Hide behind my real mother's skirt. That's what I'm doing. Against her will. She's going to yell at me after
look
this.
at Brian. I'm crying about disenfranchisement. And meanwhile, the party that I love so much is on the ballot in all 50 states. Oh, must be terrible.
My vote's legally not going to count because you actually have to be on the ballot as a write-in candidate in California.
Oh, man.
But yeah, so you were saying, how is Trump going to spin ...
Oh, if it is a blowout, what is the story? I guess
COVID. COVID.
Oh, I say I would say what I would assume is he begins his media empire that he wanted before he accidentally became president, and it begins with "Everything is a lie. I'm Alex Jones, Part 2."
My gut is, and I'll buy you all a Coke if this happens the other way, but I think if he loses, well, let me put it this way. Nobody who's ever left the presidency has ever really been like, fuck, man, I could do that another 4 years, right? You might be
Right.
pissed that you lost, but you're always relieved
Right.
because the job sucks.
Look,
ass.
I saw
job
the
is
Simpsons
terrible.
episode where George Herbert Walker Bush was writing his memoir, and he ended with the last sentence. And because I did everything I set out to, one term was all I needed.
Yeah.
The end.
So, like, the fact that if he loses and he gets drummed out, it'll be like, hey, we had the best economy ever. I would have beaten Abraham Lincoln back from the grave with the economy that we had. And then China fucked up with the virus and it wrecked the global economy. We weathered it better than most people.
And I
but
guess basically
sometimes you get you're playing the game of president and you get hit with the 100-year plague card. And that's dems the breaks.
Yeah, I assume he spends the next 4 years being nothing but a persistent "I told you so" media figure. Just every time you turn him on, he's just like, "Look how terrible everything is. I told you, I would have. It would have been."
Oh, I mean, yeah, of course. Which is why I don't think he wants to build a media empire. I think maybe a podcast, maybe a newsletter, maybe like low rent stuff, but like everybody who was like, oh, he's going to build a Fox News competitor. Why would he want to be the guy who owns Newsmax? Why would he want to be the guy
I think
who
he wants
owns
to be the guy that
OANN?
just shows up on everything.
There we go.
Yeah.
Now that is the Donald Trump we know.
Yeah.
That
I mean,
is
he's
the Donald
already
Trump.
taking.
He can own Fox News. He can own NBC. He can own all these things. And also it's like the media won't have to give up their favorite story because he's still going to be probably more popular than the president if he loses.
More
He's gonna
popular than ever
he's-
because you don't have to worry about his finger on the button. And if you're on the fence, if you're somebody who loves his angry rhetoric, his gotcha style of talking, but you're also like, I'm a bit uncomfortable with his rash decision making in association with the ability to end human lives here and there, then it seems like you're right. I think he will be more popular than the president after he
Yeah.
loses.
After he
In the
loses.
same way that
Yeah.
Gore was more popular than Bush after he lost, and got an Oscar for his movie.
Well, I mean, I don't think he'll be lionized. He'll just here's the reality. He's the left's favorite toy. The left hasn't had somebody that moves the needle for their own people. I mean, Jesus, since Reagan, maybe. And I wasn't even really alive for Reagan, so I don't even know what that was like in the moment.
George W. Bush,
I don't even think. I mean, yes, George W. Bush, the Iraq War was unpopular, but look how fast. Look how fast George W. Bush went from war criminal to cuddly teddy bear.
Well, and
now he's famous painter George W. Bush who hangs out with Ellen. I don't think Trump is ever getting that kind of recognition. I think that he's going to be far more like Reagan, where Reagan was evil man until the day he died.
Yeah.
With elements of the left.
Yeah, I could see that. I guess I was thinking of that brief window where after the Bush v. Gore election, where some amount of people didn't respect him from the beginning, where he was best known for choking on a pretzel and for having the Comedy Central sitcom "That's My Bush," and then all of a sudden, all of that went away after 9/11, and all of a sudden it was everybody rally around whoever.
No,
sitting
the
behind the post.
the pretzel was after 9/11.
Was it? Man, I could have sworn it was before.
I think that might have been the second term.
What? Wow, that's crazy.
Oh no, it was in 2002. So it was the first term.
Oh, so that was the inside job. Inside his throat.
Yeah.
Choking off the oxygen from the inside.
Remember the pretzel that George W. Bush choked on in 2002? It came from Lancaster, according to city native and former White House chief John Mueller.
Wait,
Uh,
they tracked down the actual person who gifted him the pretzel that caused him to choke and bang his head.
Gave him that pretzel. Yeah. And then fed a man that pretzel and he choked
Oh.
on it. And then he's watching football, eats a pretzel, chokes on it, falls over, hits his face. Hey, by the way, that was 4 months of media coverage back in the aughts. Back in the aughts, that was all anyone could talk about for 4 fucking months. Donald Trump getting COVID came and went in a week and a half.
Yeah.
Donald Trump appointing a tilting justice to the Supreme Court was about as quiet as I have ever heard a Supreme Court justice getting put on the court, because everyone was afraid that being mean to her would possibly fire up suburban women for Trump.
You know what I'm looking forward to? I'll just float this out here. I don't know if it'll land
Yeah.
or whatever, but we're both real busy, and that's one of the things I've really dug about happy hour is that, as busy as we are, we carve out this time, and one of the beauties of happy hour is that we go in with no plan, and our only goal is to keep the conversation alive, and hopefully people are digging it. But man, I would love to figure out a game that we could play. Like I'm getting ready to. I found out after knowing David Rowan for years that I was like, man, I just wish I knew somebody that I could play chess with. I ain't played chess in a dog's age. And he's like, is this a joke? I'm like, no, I really, I miss playing chess with people, and it's hard to get anyone pinned down. He's like, I play chess every single day. Today I solved 5 chess problems. And I was like, what? And so I bought a chessboard that's all set up. And so I'm going to play chess with Rowan later today. But I was thinking we should figure out some kind of game, and even if it's a dumb board game that we play over the air or something, to just dedicate one happy hour to game day or something.
You want to know what I wish? And I don't know whether it's a setting in the official app or whatever, but like literally just a, by email speed, whether or not it's like actually by email, I don't care. But like a game of Risk with like me and you and like 3 of our favorite people that just takes however long it takes, and there's no expectation on it, and it just pings you when it's your turn again. God, I would love that. Like that would be my dream.
Fact, I've never played a full game of Risk. I think I've set up the board once or twice with friends, and then it's suddenly time to go home because the sun is down.
Yeah,
like you just got it set up, and then you had to go.
Oh my God, dude. That
I did play it like on the Apple IIe against the computer.
Risk, and then Axis and Allies, which is like the knockoff version of Risk that actually puts you in the position of World War II.
I used to
so dope.
Yeah, I think around the time I was a bit too young. I was playing Stratego, which now I can't even remember the rules for. But now I kind of want to play Stratego.
Yeah, man.
Maybe we could do a board game thing where it's like we play Guess Who or whatever.
There's like board game simulator shit that we could do. That'd be fun. But yeah, no, Risk takes forever, and that's the problem. Is that like it's actually perfectly built for just by mail, like kind of correspondence that you just like everyone. Sometimes it'll get really hot, and sometimes it'll be a little bit, and you'd have to text, have a little group thread of like, hey fucker, take your turn. Like, oh my God.
I do remember we used to play in the early days of Warcraft. I think you could play 8-player Warcraft 2, and God, is that right? 8 players? And this is the early days. This is before any, internet connectivity or anything. We would set up a local Ethernet using a BNC cables, the whatever, coax ones.
Yeah.
And it looked like a token ring network. And because this was also novel to us, nowadays, all those real-time strategy games are basically, you got your core strategy, and it's really kind of a click fast, do your thing. But we played it as just barely more than a Risk turn-based thing. We put it on the slowest fucking setting, and we would play 4-hour games, which, you know, where you had the time to message and set up secret alliances and type each other like, hey man, let's both team up on this dude, let's fuck with him. And then very slowly you watch his army get a little bit too close to your army, and then the betrayal comes, and then it's like, it was so fucking good. It was great.
Yeah. No, I'm down. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay.
Let's build a new civilization in our own image. We're done surviving, Brian.
Slow
we're
Warcraft.
ready. We're ready to go. Let's play whatever. Let's just do it.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we do have to wait till after the election. Everything is just going to be too busy between now and then. Yeah. All right. Well, dude, thank you for talking me off my grousey ledge.
Yeah. No need to grouse, baby.
Yeah.
We can, don't be Oscar the Grouse. We're having a good time, man. And number one, thank you for doing the show. I know everybody who's listening to this, thanks you for well, A, they're happy that you're feeling better, and number two, you know, happy that not only you did the show last night, but the show today, and I'm sure you're gonna feel great tomorrow.
In the chat, they're saying just take off election night and just civilization. You and me play Civ 6.
That's it. I built it up for 4 years, man. I'm like, fuck you. Let me know.
The winner is
I'm
fucking
changing
Gandhi.
my phone number,
I got
and I'm
nukes.
canceling the Patreon. Who gives a shit? It's Civ 5 for me, bitch.
All right, see you guys.
Happy hour. Night attacks happy hour. Night attacks happy hour.